Well, the pressure's on. Today we'll show you how to build a blown small block right here in the shop. Today on Horsepower TV, we'll set out to build the ultimate streetable supercharged small block with the right power adders to make this 350 cube motor make an amazing 540 horsepower. We'll take you to Mississippi for a hot IHRA divisional shootout, and we'll put the final touches to our 32 retro street rod before we take it out for its first road test. So hang on for Horsepower TV.
We got it. Hi, and welcome to the Horsepower Shop. You know, when it comes to making horsepower for your street machine, there's nothing quite like a supercharger, and there's nothing quite like that monstrous aluminum lung for visual impact.
That's right. Whether you have a vicious Vega like this or just a pickup that needs more pickup, nothing gets the job done like a blower. Now, the most common kind is a positive displacement root style that generates boost on demand. But to use one of these effectively, well, you first need a solid foundation.
Yeah, and today we're going to be bolting together a blown small block Chevy 350 that ought to crank out about 540 horsepower on pump gas. Now, for reliability, we're starting with a 4-bolt main block that's been machined, washed, and fitted with these ARP main studs. This Lenati steel crank has been lightened on all the throws, and the journals have been treated to a full polish job and radiused fillets to eliminate any stress risers that could lead to failure. Now, the oil holes have been chamfered to get rid of any sharp edges and to give us a little bit larger oil footprint on the bearings. Oh, and check this detail out. The counterweights have been knife-edged to cut through the oil in the pan a little bit better and free up a few more horsepower.
The rest of the reciprocating assembly is also from Lenati, including these forged 20cc reverse dome pistons. Now, these will work with our heads to give us about an 8.5 to 1 compression ratio. We're going to hang them on a set of their Pro billet rods that have polished side beams, bronze bushings in the small ends, and cap screws on the big ends. Now, this is all for extra reliability. After all, the increased boost generated by our blower is going to increase the strain on our bottom end.
Well, here's something you want to pay a little extra attention to whenever you're assembling a blower motor. Now, I like to run a little more ring clearance here on the end gap than the normal 17 to 20 that you run on most street engines, and that's because the blower puts more heat into the engine and causes the rings to expand just a little bit more. Now, I like to run about 22 to 24 thousandths on the top ring and about 20 to 22 thousandths on the second ring. That's going to give them plenty of room to grow.
Since the blower forces the fuel mixture into your engine, well, you need a camshaft with more lift and duration on the exhaust side than the intake to get rid of those combusted gases. Now, this hydraulic roller specs out at 227 degrees duration on the intake, 234 on the exhaust, with a lift of 478 and 480 respectively. Roller cams have a tendency to walk out of the front of the block, so we've added this button to our double roller cam gear, and it butts up against the timing cover. Now, on the back side here, this Torrington bearing will prevent the cam gear from galling the face of the front cam journal.
An oiling system is the lifeblood of any engine, and to help keep our blower motor alive, we're using this Moroso high volume pump that has a Heliarc pickup. Now, it works with their 7-quart oil pan that has a built-in scraper and windage screen to help strip the oil off the crank and reduce parasitic power losses in that area.
Our aluminum heads come from Holley, complete with 202 160 valves that have been treated to a 3-angle valve job. Of course, they're housed inside these 66cc combustion chambers. We like these heads because the ports are large enough to handle the additional flow, and the seat pressure is strong enough to keep the valves closed, even under maximum boost.
Of course, all that boost won't do us any good if we can't keep it contained, so to seal the cylinder heads to the block, we're using these Mr. Gasket Ultra Seals. Now, they're a composition gasket with a steel ring right here next to the bore and an elastomer coating to help improve seal. Now, the best part about them, though, is they never need retorquing. And speaking of torque, we're going to hold the heads in place with these ARP Pro Series bolts.
Thank you.
All right.
The lifters are next, and since we're using a roller cam, just need to put a little oil on them here to lube them up. Hey man, would you drop that in?
Gladly.
Got to tell them something very important. Always use Molly push rods with guide plates, because here's what can happen with regular push rods made of steel. They can wear against the guide plate, and before you know it, you got metal shavings in your motor.
Hey, that's a great tip. Now, we're going to keep the roller theme going with these 1.5 rockers. They're aluminum extrusions with a fully rollerized trunnion and tip. And of course, once we get the valve set, these poly locks will help us keep those settings.
Well, make sure to keep your poly locked. We'll be back with more of our supercharged small block right after this. Later in the show, it's time for spring racing fever. We'll head to southern Mississippi for an IHRA sportsman event where the competition is fast and furious. Also later, we'll button up our 32 street rod before we take her out to pound some pavement. Don't pass this up.
For the latest news on Horsepower TV, check us out online at horsepowertv.com.
Hey, welcome back to the shop and our blown small block Chevy buildup. Now, while you were gone, we bolted down the intake manifold that's going to allow us to mount up that Holley 420 mega blower. And the reason they call it that is because it displaces 420 cubic inches of air with each revolution. And with our combination of parts, well, we're going to be looking for about 7 psi of boost. Now, each one comes with a polished case and these Teflon tipped rotors that allow a little bit tighter case clearance for more efficient boost. Hey Joe, check this out. If our blower ever sneezes, well, this is where all that backed up pressure is going to go. Now this pop-off plate is held in place with these springs and they're preloaded by tightening these nuts.
That is a great safety feature. Now I mentioned earlier how a blower puts more heat into the engine. Well, to get rid of some of that heat, we got this high-flow aluminum water pump from Wyand. That'll do the job. Now let's go check out our drive setup. The mega blower uses an 8mm Gilmer belt drive system with different size pulleys so you can tailor your boost to your application. Here's how it all goes together. The accessory drive pulley bolts up first to this street damper from Vibertech, then the bottom blower drive pulley. The water pump pulley goes on next along with the belt. Then we mount the idler pulley, install the drive belt, and adjust the tension so we have about 1 inch of deflection on the longest span of the belt. Now if you're running a motor bigger than ours or you just want more boost, you can swap out this upper drive pulley for one that's smaller, and that'll spin the blower faster.
The key element to making this supercharger setup work are the carbs. Now, since Holley began building blowers, well, they've developed a whole new line of carbs especially for that application, and they include a special referencing on the power valves that'll fatten up that fuel curve when you need it. Now, we're using a pair of 600 CFM double pumpers, and they're going to get their fill from this mechanical pump that's rated at 180 gallons per hour.
A blower puts extra demands on your ignition too because of increased cylinder pressure. So for firepower, we're going to use this Annihilator ignition system that includes a Pro Billet distributor feeding into a set of 9mm plug wires. Now we're going to need these too because this capacitive discharge unit puts out enough power to light up Las Vegas. The Pro Strip controller box here has a built-in rev limiter and boost retard, plus it's fully programmable.
Hey, that boost retard is extremely important on a supercharged engine because it helps keep it from detonating. Now, what makes it all work is this map sensor that connects to the controller through the wiring harness. And what it does, it tells the controller to back the timing down 1 degree for every pound of boost. Usually this thing just mounts right on the firewall. I guess you're ready for some plug wires.
I'm fired up to see this thing finished. Polished aluminum valve covers are the final touch to our blower motor buildup. Now you might be wondering, hey, why don't you guys dyno this thing? Well, we don't have to. Holly's already tested the Supercharger setup. They got 540 horsepower, over 500 foot-pounds of torque.
Wow. Now, you're probably also wondering how much an engine like this would cost, and well, I think you could bolt one together for about 15 to 20 grand. Yeah, but you don't have to leave right now, because we'll be back with more Horsepower TV right after this.
Up next, IHRA racers aim high as they kick off the drag racing season. We'll follow some of the top sportsman competitors in their first Y2K quest for a championship run.
Horsepower TV's Race of the Week is brought to you by Edelbrock, the leader in automotive performance for nearly 75 years.
Hi, welcome back to the show into Hub City Raceway in Mississippi, where after a long winter's wait, the time has come. The time to lay down some numbers, rack up points, and, well, you can read. It's a divisional championship in the Holly IHRA Sportsman Series, and racers from 8 classes came to this event sponsored by Howard Computers. On this 8-mile track, they can not only earn money, but also get a leg up for the upcoming national championships.
But the points he earns here this weekend will be double duty points. They'll go toward a divisional championship and toward a world championship.
Some of the heaviest hitters in the country came here to kick off their seasons, including Frank Teague, the 1999 top sportsman champ.
Well, when you're number one, they're all knocking at you, so we're going to go up there and just do the best we can, just have another fun year and just see how it turns out.
Frank chose a relatively small 565 cube 1100 horse motor to make his consistent power. By the way, the 8-mile minimum dial-in is 549 in the sportsman class.
The champion for now.
That's one of Frank's friendly but close rivals, Ronnie Davis, who started off the last decade by taking a world crown.
My motivation this year was I won the first world championship in the 90s, 1991 IHRA, and I want to win the first one in 2000. My opinion, I've raced a long time. 75% of it's preparation, 25% driver. I think you can take an average driver and put him in a great car and he can win. You can put a great driver in a bad car and he ain't going to win anything.
In addition to great racing on the strip, we found some great stories here in the pits. For example, the racer we met who refused to let a handicap hold him back from his top dragster dreams. Charlie Collado lost his right leg in a motorcycle accident in 1985. His handicap is one that would keep most racers off the strip, but not Charlie, who was determined to use his ingenuity to overcome the odds.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention, so I did what I had to make it work for me. Since I'm missing my right leg, what I did was put the gas pedal on the left, the handbrake is right here on the right side, and I put the shifter on the left, parachutes are over here, just made it so it fits me. Well, we're here to do the best we can, and you know it's going to be a long season, so we'll just take it one race at a time.
Thanks to young couples like Anthony and Melinda Bertazzi, sportsman racing is becoming more of a family affair.
Yeah, the people that play together stay together, and it works for us, so yeah, we're happy. I watched him do it for 12 years, and then before I got in one, but yeah, I got talked into it and fell in love with it.
Melinda chose the Fast and Furious Top Dragster class with a minimum 519 dial-in on the 8th mile, while husband Anthony was champion last year in both Superstock and Modified Eliminator.
I like both of them. I like the super stock cars because they do the wheelies and they're really fun to drive. But if I'm winning, it doesn't matter.
Track conditions couldn't be better for today's eliminations, and it won't be long before we find out who starts off 2000 with a big win. Remember Charlie? Well, he posted some stout numbers for the weekend, though going down in eliminations, as did Melinda, who lost in round 1. Frank T packed it up after breaking out of his 5/18 dial-in round 1. But Ronnie Davis ripped through the first couple of rounds, winning big.
Feel pretty good. We've been 3 481s in a row, so we're doing all right.
Ronnie's luck almost ran out in this semifinal run, losing control right at the finish line.
I really don't know if it was wind or oil on the tracks, no oil on the car. But got completely sideways. I just about hit the guardrail, but got saved.
Anthony broke out in the 4th round of Super Street competition, but came back to win modified with this 487 run against a 485 dial-in.
Well, it's been a good year so far. It's the first race, and we got to win, so I guess with this car, one defeated.
Not so for Ronnie Davis, who lost to a local bracket racer who ran an amazing 495 on a 494 despite having a serious oil leak just before eliminations.
I didn't even think I had a chance. I got up this morning, the oil leak was fixed, and everything just went lovely.
So now it's on to national competition, and we'll take you there later in the year as the sportsman contenders of IHRA battle it out for the first titles of the 21st century. Join the Horsepower TV crew at the Amalie Oil Summer Nationals June 16th through 18th at Cordova Dragway Park in Cordova, Illinois.
Hi, and welcome back to the shop, where it's time to put the finishing touches on our 32 3-window coupe project, the Great Ball of Fire.
You might remember several weeks ago when we kicked off this project, aiming to build the ultimate retro street ride. We started with a hardwood 32 3-window coupe frame, and since we're building a nostalgia piece, we added an I-beam front suspension with a SoCal finned brake setup. Out back, we've hung a Curry 8-inch rear end, and for power, we built a small block Chevy motor, fed by a 3-deuce carb setup. Now we bolted it to a 350 transmission. Then we turned our painter Rick Harris loose to lay down that horsepower purple paint. He also gave it a cool retro flame job. Then we bolted on some special megaphone headers before bolting on the body itself.
Now, one of the final touches to our 32 is this banjo-style steering wheel from Lucara. Now, we had this one covered in the same pearl white material as the rest of our 60-style roll and pleat interior. And down here, we went with purple carpet, and
we've got it back here in the trunk, too, along with more pleats and purple piping. Now, check this out. We built a panel here that hides our battery. Now, as soon as I install this weather stripping we got from A&M Soft Seal, this 32 will be officially finished and ready for its first road test.
street might be neat, but retro's the only way to go.
Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
And now Hot Parts, brought to you by CarParts.com. Everything for your car, truck, van, or SUV.
Hey, let's face it, you Mustang guys like to keep up with the latest trends, right? Well, now you can update your 87 through 99 Ponies dash with this white face conversion kit from BBK Performance. Now, it's easy to install, and check this out. When the lights are on, well, you got a full color display. So now you can give some class to your dash at prices under $70.
Well, here's a classy way to keep your tools straight. It's a billet aluminum tool tray organizer from DSS Competition Products. Now, it holds both SAE and metric sockets with 1/2 inch, 3/8, and 1/4 inch drives, plus there's room for swivel sockets, accessories, and even extensions. Now, if you want one of these for your toolbox, hey, you're going to have to sock it to your budget for for about $190.
Well, you're going to need some of those sockets to install this new timing set for GM's Gen 6 Big Block. It's a full roller from Comp Cams to replace the original link type and fits inside the stock composite timing cover. It's got multiple keyways and an offset bushing to help you degree in your cam. Now, this whole setup will set you back about $180.
Hey, great timing. And we're just about out of time ourselves. Here's a look at next week's show.
We'll get our hands dirty hopping up a Harley with a passel of parts designed to drastically pump up the power. In fact, you'll be astounded at the results we get on the Dyno Jet. In our race of the week, it's the NSCA Southern Shootout in Darlington, featuring America's fastest street cars, where you'll ride inside some of these 6-second land missiles.
This next pass, keep your eyes open. It's going to rock and roll.
And remember, high performance fun is what this show is all about.
For information about the products used in today's show and more, check us out online at horsepowertv.com. Horsepower TV is an RTM production.